We're now on scene 5. This is the part I didn't want to tell. I have not prepared any words to know what to say to you. It's shocking. It's me hanging out there for you to make fun of. I'm just going to try not to cry. What I saw in this stadium, it's called as a peace conference. What I saw in this stadium, I am ashamed to even talk about. Father showed me, and he wants you to know, but it's not something I believed in 1999. Of course, now I know that's true. So what I first saw after I was done seeing the change, and that the world just kept getting worse and worse and more evil and more spying, and after that scene was over, I saw this. What you're seeing is a stadium full of people. When I first saw it, I saw what I thought, this is funny, I just thought it was a toilet bowl. It was white, it was oval, it had a lid. I thought I was seeing a toilet bowl. And then as I looked longer, and he gave me a more close-up look of what I was seeing, he called a peace conference. The Pope calls a peace conference. My guesstimate, but I told you I'm not good with dates, but my guesstimate is maybe fall of 17. The Pope calls a peace conference about a year before it's actually going to take place. And he says, it's all the VIPs of the world that have agreed in principle, and that day they're going to sign the paper, that they will always have peace from now on. They're going to destroy the weapons. It was so there are 75,000 seats. In real life, this is what the stadium in Rome looks like. So when I thought I was seeing a toilet bowl, I was seeing something real. Sure enough, there is a stadium that looks just like a toilet bowl to me. What do I know? But it's white, it's oval, it's tall, and it has a half cover, like a toilet bowl seat. And when he calls this, it is bigger than Academy Awards and Super Bowl and Olympics. You just think of all the most awesome, exciting things. Maybe if you were a media advertising salesman, you would know exactly what the most exciting things were in the world, and that's what you charge more for. Well, this is more and bigger than anything you've ever seen. This is 10 Super Bowls. This is bigger than that. And as I said, I didn't want to tell this, but I have to tell the truth. I promised you I would tell you the truth, and this is the truth. And I have told my friends there are some things you can talk me out of, maybe. You know, the next scene is about the guillotines and how they come. You can talk me out of many things, maybe, possibly, but you can't talk me out of this. I wish you could. Okay. So when the peace conference, this holds 75,000. It's standing room only. A lot of them are security, but each seat is full. To be able to get in, you have I don't know if you know how our Congress and Senate work. This back is not straight, is why I'm holding it. Our Congress, I don't know if you know, but the Congress, the number of people involved in Congress is up to the ratio to how many people what's the population. Senate, on the other hand, everybody gets 2. So all 50 states have 2 in the Senate. And those are thought of as old, smart people that can even make decisions on their own. The Congress is more about doing whatever the people tell them to. It's supposed to be about doing whatever the people tell them to. And that's how the tickets were given out. There were every nation, so there were 200 nations. Every nation was given a promise of certain number of tickets. Part of them were the number of population, the amount of population they had, and some were just like a VIP like Senate that were given tickets also. And this is bigger than you'd think, because if you want to be in any part of this, you had to have a ticket in time to get that. You got authorization to be able to rent a room in the city. Nobody was allowed to be in the city except people who had been, had gone through security and were very important people. So everybody wanted a ticket to this. And he also had, the Pope was in charge of all of it. The Pope had some tickets that were set aside, of course, some for each of the 205, for each of the 200 nations, and then others according to their population, and others. There's also a lottery to get tickets, and there was also auditions. So if you thought you had a beautiful song that you wanted to sing, or maybe you were Miss America and you wanted to recite something, or you were a Nobel laureate or a poet or something, you would audition, and every tape got looked at, and they got narrowed down to where they got down to, 100 people who were going to do talent. And those people got tickets. Some tickets were, a lot of the end of the tickets were just went by price. There were people that I saw that you would know who paid $1 million or more for their seat, and another $1 million for their wife or whatever. And all the money was to go to peace. So this was an actual event that seemed to have, I think, it seemed to have about a year lead time from when it was announced to when it actually happened. When it happens, every seat is full, like I said, but not all of them were what we would think of as humans. I am so sorry. When this starts, some of the big people already knew, some of the important people of the world already knew that life in other planets, that's not the right way to say it. We have been told that they are ETs, ET, extraterrestrial, but that's not what they are. They're EDs, extra-dimensional. They do not come from other planets. They come from another dimension. These apparently appear to be offspring of the fallen angels and Nephilim. And I know a lot of you don't believe in this and you think it's hokey and made up, but I have to tell you the truth. I saw this. I can't back down from this. I saw it. I saw it as clearly as I saw the mixed race lead, more clearly. So as the conference starts, there are many what I would call flying saucers that appear overhead. And apparently, because I'm thinking when I'm watching this, what? But apparently they had already landed and made contact with the Pope and maybe, I guess, others. I don't know. I wasn't in the inn. But the Pope was the one that called it and he spoke for them. So I guess they had already contacted him and maybe had hundreds of years before. I don't know. But I know these were real. They came from out there somewhere, and they were not ETs. They were EDs, extra-dimensional. They were transhuman. They were, I hate to say these words, but they seem to be shapeshifters. I think that's something way out there crazy. But when we first see them as humans. We see humans. We don't know that they're, except that we saw things flying around. But at the beginning, we didn't know if that was like the U.S. government doing some kind of a nice presentation of we have these awesome weapons and we don't have to have, we don't know what it is. It's just, there are small things and big things. And that's why I put this here. This is supposed to represent a flying saucer. And that's how they appeared. But then they started walking into the stadium as humans, look like humans. And eventually, as everybody took their seat, the Pope welcomed them and began talking. Everybody had, you will see that there's a band here called the Unity Band. They give the music, and there's all kinds of different activities. So, the Pope introduces them at some point, and he says, these are our brothers, these are our big sisters and big brothers, and they are going to teach us. They could have, please don't be afraid, they could have destroyed us hundreds of times over. They could have killed us 50 years ago or 500 or 5,000 years ago, and they've been watching us, and they know that we are about to destroy ourselves with nuclear weapons, and they're trying to keep this earth livable. It's a favor that they've come here, and we can trust them and like them, and they have good things to teach us and to give to us. At that time, this is just what I knew, is that there was not enough water on earth. There was not enough drinking water or clean water. Partly, there had been horrible droughts, and like California's been in a drought recently. I saw that, and I saw that it gets worse, and there are other parts of the world that have droughts. And germs, some kind of a virus or something in the food, so that the food is not safe anymore, and people die from it. So we need the earth at that time, perhaps 2017, the earth needs water. And these EDs say, we brought you unlimited amount of water. We can make as much as you want. We're here to help. And we'll just try to be your big brother, and we'll try to help you. And so here's what we're going to do for the water. When the people got used to the idea that these humanoids, ETs, were here and they're not leaving, and they were smart and they had opinions and they were talking to us and they brought us gifts, the conference continued. Lots of different things. People settled down after a while. And over on that side, we have, I think it is a doll of one of the Space Trek or Star Trek or Star Wars or one of the guys, because these are all just toys I picked up at Goodwill. Everything here is a toy. But please don't take it as a toy. Please don't think of it as just lots of toys. They have very deep meanings, and some of these were chosen very purposely for what I saw them do, whether it was their strength or all the different things, the different attributes they had. These are not toys. So, or not to my way of thinking. So if you look over there, this guy who's Star Wars or whatever that is, he is face to face with a certain kind of a woman, and they brought us a gift of several things, such as a tree that will live 1,000 years and offer shade and do good things, sort of something you can use as like a nut, but it was kind of a fruit thing. They brought us all kinds of things. That tree can live 1,000 years on almost literally no water. I don't know if it takes water from the atmosphere but it was a wonderful gift. And these EDs, extra dimensionals, brought lots of gifts. And so they said they wanted to have an exchange of seed. They brought the seeds for a lot of things, and now they want to exchange seeds for people. And we do that. The Pope approves it, and so there's a big ceremony with music and fireworks, and we give them some of our seed, and they give us some of their seed. I just put down there that little koozie ball and a baby to show that that's what they were trading at that moment. We earthlings were going to have some of their seed, and they were going to have some of ours, and make a new kind of a human. And every kind of human and more were there. The word is cyborg. That means part of you is a machine. Every kind of, just use your imagination, and there was some of it. And big, powerful people and smart people, and they honored us to come here, we were told. Okay, so after the music and the entertainment, this thing goes on for 3 days. Well, actually, it was scheduled for 5. for 5 days, and they exchange the seed. They do all these things. And we get relaxed and happy, and they announce that they have 2 people who is the head of their ED. I called it the Federation, Galactic Federation or something. And but I didn't remember the name very well, and I don't remember a flag. I clearly remember a flag after that. So Pope says, okay, it's time for us, now that we're all taking the pledge that we're going to have total peace, we're getting rid of our weapons, war is not going to be an option. Just forget it. And we're all going to live in peace and safety. And he said that. We are all going to live in peace and safety. So from the Federation, there were 2 main leaders. One is a pretty woman, and one is an ancient old man who's wise, and she is energetic, and they laugh at any religion or any country who doesn't treat women as equals, because they see women as, in many ways, superior to men. So there is a woman down here in the main part. She's on the floor, well, in a platform, and she gives, so as they start talking about there's going to be a one world leader, just like the Bible has said always. We're going to be one world. There is no more war. We're going to get along. We're one family. And there's going to be one leader. And as I have shared with other people, it's not Obama. There were several people who, when he got to the part where he was going to announce who the one world leader was, they spoke up. The man, who is like the father of the universe, spoke up and said, well, we have to get along with him, and we have an opinion. So every religion, if they look into it, admires the man known as Jesus, Yeshua. The Muslims admire him as a prophet. Everybody thinks highly of him. So what they did was, they found, I don't know if this was planned and manipulated, but they said, we have one candidate that we want. Not who you said, not the head of Turkey or whoever. There's one man alive who exactly fills our needs. And he has direct bloodline from Jesus, Yeshua. And they even said there was a big deal about how the Shroud of Turin, which I don't even know if it's real. I mean, yes, there is a burial cloth, and yes, there is an imprint on it. And is it Jesus? I don't know. Yeshua? I don't know. But at this time, this is what I saw in 1999. I didn't even know what DNA was. They showed that burial cloth that it was accurate, and the reason some people have said it was from 1300, not from the year 0 or 33, was because that when it was when it was opened at one time and had pollen on it in the weave of the linen. They said, yes, that was actually Jesus' burial cloth, and yes, when he did come back to life, it made such a power that it even left an imprint on the linen. And that's just in real life, when we sent off the bomb in Hiroshima, you say, in Hiroshima, there are places that there are shadows, pictures of human beings who were standing there when it happened, and it was that same kind of power that happened and made a photo on a wall, even though photos hadn't been invented yet. So the same kind of thing. So they're saying, yes, the Shroud of Turin, yes, the shroud is real. Yes, it was Jesus. Yes, we have taken DNA off of it and blood samples. And yes, this person who is our candidate is the actual bloodline heir of Jesus, Yeshua. So they said, we want this person. And everybody applauds for, an hour. So this person, and I'm not allowed to say his name because I was told that it would, what was the wording? You will endanger innocent people. so I'm not allowed to say the name, but you can look. You will see a man who is given, they each have on capes, and she, the head of the foundation, gives an award. It was called the Sun, the Star, and the Moon. The sun, the moon, and the stars. And it was solid gold, and it was heavy, and she gives it to him, and he accepts it as, I now accept that I am a direct line from Jesus, and that I do take this position, that I will be responsible for peace on earth. So you see this, and you see these strange characters, but this is what I saw. When they started having, there comes a time when they have a disagreement. And at that time, they didn't look like humans anymore. I don't know if they lost their ability to pretend to look like something else. This is so all above me. It's beyond my lack of scientific brain. But these people that I am showing you as weird characters is how they looked after they lost their ability to wear the mask. So this one in particular, like this is behind her, this is her security, is a horse that's half man. And we've heard of such things, and somebody heard of it enough to make a toy out of it. But in real life, some of those things did exist a long time ago. And all these strange things, really, incubus and succubus and all those horrible things we never wanted to believe were true. And all of the, in Greece and Rome, they had their gods, and we just thought it was all a myth. These myth gods of these brilliant, strong people who can do anything, and they deserve our worship and adoration. And by golly, that was true. It was these guys, and they came often as giants. They could also make themselves, as you will see, they can also make themselves small. And they tell you it's because of where they come from. But I didn't want to tell you, but I have to. And that this peace conference is coming up, I think, in just maybe a couple of years, pretty soon. And at this time, we know that we have Space Brothers. So the slogan was, choice is good, but world peace is better. When I saw that, I was offended, because the most important thing that our Father, Yahweh, who created us, ever gave us, the most important thing was choice. Cattle don't have choice. Monkeys don't have choice. Plants don't have choice. Humans have choice, and that is how we are like Him. He said, I made you in my image. We don't know what kind of image He looks like, or what He might want to look like on any given day, but we know how we are like Him is that He has choice, and He gave us choice. And He did that on purpose, because He wants us to be able to, if we love Him, we do it from choice. So it was sort of offensive to me. I'm very aware that the main thing Father gave us was choice, and that He allowed Satan to exist, which looked like a viable alternative, thank you. God doesn't know you, and He doesn't like you. That's all so we can have choice and decide for ourselves. And then if we love Him, wow, what a nice gift, because we don't have to. It's our choice. So this was, there was a huge, I didn't know what it was at the time. I think now, I'm not into sports, but I think in football there's something called a Trinitron or something like that, or a Megatron, or there's a humongous screen. And that's what this is. This is what this represents. That at this stadium with these UFOs, they had this slogan that you might be into Bible stuff in the last days of, you might think that we're in the last days of, the white horse comes first, and that's taking peace, and then the red is war, and black is famine, and green is plague. Everybody knows that. And that these are coming, and that they're coming soon. And all the things, like here's Santa Claus, here's football, all these different interests. Gosh, there's money and sexy women and whatever. These are all different interests that you would do just about anything. Some people do anything to have a baby. Some people do anything to have a red Corvette. these are choices that you can work for. But they told you, choice is good, but world peace is better. And that was the slogan. That's what I heard over and over and over and over and over. World peace is better. No matter what you want, world peace is better. So that was drilled in our head. Okay, now, at the end of this, after it's gone on about all day, and there were days before that things were going on with preliminary events, but at the big conference where he announces our big brothers from space, which they aren't, there comes a time when the person who is the world leader, which we would call Antichrist, that's what we've been taught to call him from John in the Bible, the Antichrist, the one world leader, makes a little, he thinks he's making a funny comment. But the old man, who is also the leader of the Federation, does not find it to be humorous and throws a hissy fit and picks up the VIP stand with lots of people on it. They're all holding onto their chairs that were bolted down, and they start having a horrible fight. And the man who was chosen as world leader, the old wise man, took the ceremonial sword off of one of his family and took it, and with such power, it was shown over and over and over on TV. It was shown like 9/11. We kept seeing those towers fall. Well, that was like that in the future, where we saw this sword came up, the ceremonial sword, and slammed down, and it cut his head open, all the way down to his mouth. Blood spurted everywhere. There were screams and screams. And at that time, apparently I don't know if it's because they knew the Bible, I don't know, but the Pope had it arranged that if in fact something happens to the man we're going to make as the one world leader, do not take the camera off of him. So CNN and whoever all was there knew to leave the camera on him. So he lays there dead, blood spurting on every person who was near him, including the Pope. And they keep the camera on the entire time. And there were two major things that happened. First, at that moment, we don't know what's from the anger of the Federation or whether, it couldn't have been a coincidence, but at that moment, when the world leader lays there with his head split open, down to his mouth, horrible things happen all around the world. There's every volcano and hurricane and tsunami and earthquake and anything you can think of that you might be confused and think it's the earth being mad, happened. One after the other. The people are on TV, and at that time I saw, now I have not researched to know if this is in real life, I saw what we now call screen-in-screen. There was a TV screen with the news anchor saying, and now let me interrupt, there's just been a hurricane, it's just there, let me interrupt, there's a tsunami, whatever. 100,000 people are killed, and what, and then that was on the main screen. And on the little screen at the bottom right, it never went from the leader, from our world leader, it never left his body as it lay there with blood flowing out of his head. And it kept on, just like the horrible events kept on. They continued, everything continued, more and more and more and more, and more people dead. I saw one thing that lasted 1 second that I could easily have overlooked, but I saw it. And that is, while people are crazy and screaming, and the world is falling apart, and everybody in their home is watching this on TV, and their home is now being destroyed. And it was horrible chaos for all 3 days. But while that happened, I saw just a fleeting second of a bunch of light, like maybe like what we look like when we die. A bunch of spirits went up, and that's all I saw. But I started researching it, and I think what I know now, this is heavy doctrine, but I'm just telling you what is true. I was raised to believe there was a rapture coming. Any minute, be ready. You could be killed before you go home. You know, it was always that fear of the rapture. And the rapture, I was taught, was that every person who ever asked Jesus into their heart, every person who considered themselves saved and on the path to heaven and a worshiper, every person went up in what was called the rapture. But there isn't a rapture. Where everybody goes, that's not it. It's this one thing that happened in that instant, and that was the bride of Christ. They have been tested enough. They have shown that they are loyal to the end of their life. They are loyal. So those people, and I think, I'm just guessing, but of all the Christians in the world, and I know there are millions and millions, maybe a billion, I don't know, but there are a lot of people who claim to be Christians. They do not leave in the rapture. Everybody, those millions and millions of people do not leave right away. And I guessed perhaps 1 in 1,000. If there were 1,000 people who claimed they were saved and believed they were saved and believed they were on their way to heaven, but had never maybe really lived it, maybe they were not in love with Yeshua the way I am, and I'm not saying I'm the bride of Christ either, I don't know. But those people, 1 in 1,000, guesstimate, popped up real fast. And it was such chaos at that time. So many earthquakes and hurricanes and volcanoes. And I saw the fires were everywhere. Because as the earth moved, these underlying gas pipes broke. And as and planes fell and all these horrible things happened. And as they happened, fires broke out. And there were no policemen or firemen available because they were off at another catastrophe. So for those 3 days, you just kind of basically say the world was crazy. It was hell on earth. There was no water to put out the fires. The fires were everywhere. And I saw that. And at the end of the 3 days, the camera is still on the one world leader laying there. The blood is now dried. And he's laying there. And as is in what I typed that night that flowed out of my fingers, more exciting than anything I could think up, it talked about how he awoke while on camera. He was no longer dead. He was put back to life. And then we will, in the next part, we will talk about what he said when he awoke. That he said, I died, a young man, or maybe an innocent man. I come back to you after death. I come back to you as God. I will speak to you tomorrow from Jerusalem, because he's in Rome. I will speak to you tomorrow from Jerusalem, and I will explain, and I'll tell you the new program from this day on, how we will all live in peace and safety, and that's my job, and I'm going to assure we have it. Starting tomorrow, when I have time to rest and get to my new office, my new home, which is Jerusalem, I will tell you how we're going to have peace and safety from that day forward. And that's what I have to share about Scene 5.